In the forge's light, I saw your face, a smile wrapped in silver's grace. You spoke of power, you spoke of dreams. We built the world, or so it seems. Rings of gold, hearts of stone. We were never meant to be alone.
Just made some spicy guacamole, which I ate with some delicious corn tortilla chips, and I'm having some coffee afterwards. So you got that spice still going in your mouth, and then you drink that hot coffee, and there's something about that combination that is really good. What is not really good is the Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. This episode 6, I felt like it gave us a glimpse into what might have been. What might have been a genuinely good show. There are moments in the Eregion plotline with Anatar and Celebrimbor that I am into, that I enjoy, despite myself. I enjoyed the scene, several of the scenes, but in particular the scene when Celebrimbor leaves his forge, his smithy, against Anatar / Sauron's wishes and goes out into the city, which we know is being now about to be attacked by Adar and his orcs. And Sauron casts an illusion over him. I thought this was kind of a cool scene, and really the scenes where he's like getting into his head and making him forget things and see things and just fucking with him like that. I think that there's some potential there. I can see where this could have been a good show if the show had told things in order. I am not saying that they could have even possibly stuck exactly to Tolkien throughout, because the Second Age is just vast. So you're going to have to pick and choose what you show. I think that the chronology is super important. For instance, they should not have forged the 3 rings already. They should have forged the rings in order. Here's how I would plot out this show. The first season or 2 would be, and this is very broad stroke stuff, but those seasons, the primary protagonist of these seasons would be Celebrimbor, who, nothing against the actor who plays him, he does a fine job, but he should be young and handsome and full of the vigor and verve of a young man who is at the height of his craft, but desperate and hungry for more. Because it is Celebrimbor's pride that blinds him to Anatar's deception. First 2 seasons, give or take, or at least the first season, would be about Anatar getting into Celebrimbor's confidences, deceiving him, helping forge the rings, up until the 3, which are forged when Sauron leaves Eregion to go forge the One Ring in Mordor. Mordor. Brr, like a drum roll. Like a drum roll R. Celebrimbor, meanwhile, still in Eregion, forges the 3 then, after Sauron is gone and without him knowing. They both forge some stuff in secret because, things have gone south. At this point, once they realize what's going on, Celebrimbor sends the 3 away into hiding, and Sauron eventually comes back and demands that the Rings of Power are handed over to him, and when they are not, when Celebrimbor refuses them, he attacks and sacks Eregion. He tortures and kills Celebrimbor, first getting the 9 and the 7 rings locations out of him, but not the 3. He will not give up the 3. Then he takes the 9 and the 7, and he gives them to the mortal men and to the dwarves, which ultimately corrupts them, brings calamity to the dwarves, and turns the men into ring wraiths, fully under the thrall of Sauron. This is why the chronology is so important, because this is the story's arc. The arc you have to stick to tell it properly. In the show, they're actually forging the rings for dwarves and for men. That's not what Celebrimbor was doing with these rings. These were elven rings. It was Sauron that took them and then gave them to men and dwarves to control them. Durin has a ring already, right? And they have the 7 already done. They're sending them out to dwarves. That's not how it happened. Not even close. And I don't mind. I think some of the actors that play the dwarves, the portrayal of the dwarves is fine, but that all should be coming in a later season. All of the forging and the deception of Celebrimbor, all of that could have happened in the beginning. Then we could have seen what happens with the mortal men turning into wraiths and the dwarves bringing various calamities upon them. Dragons and And they could have fun with this. They can make up some stuff. I don't care. As long as you're sticking to the spirit of it and to the general outline, I don't care if you take some liberties and make up some new characters. All that's great. It's fine. But here we have what appears to be the downfall of Eregion about to happen already. It's like they're rushing ahead with all the storylines. They rushed the Numenor storyline, which really should have taken place thousands of years later in seasons 4 and 5. They're rushing that. They're rushing the rings. They're rushing the sacking of Eregion. They're rushing all of it. It's like they're trying to get through all the story as fast as they can, but they still have, apparently, purportedly, 3 more seasons. What are they going to do with all that time? They're just going to have us hang out with the Stewars and the Harfoots? Please, God, no. In Numenor, we have our Farzan, who is already this slimy cretin of a politician who's become king. I don't know how you're supposed to portray his fall from grace if he's never had any to begin with, right? How do you portray... Ultimately, our Farzan's the last king of Numenor. He is a powerful general. He defeats Sauron and his armies and takes Sauron hostage. And that's when Sauron gets into his head, becomes his trusted advisor, gets him to worship Morgoth, all this stuff. That's where his resentment towards elves starts to build, and he wants eternal life and everything else. And that's when Numenor falls. But they've jumped the gun on all of that, so there's not really much of a story to tell. And they give us goofy scenes, like the scene with Elendil and Miriel in the prison cell, which is like plucked right out of Braveheart. It's just like when William Wallace is visited by the princess. It's like the same scene, except for in that, you get the line, "Every man dies, not every man really lives." And in this, you get Elendil telling Miriel, "The sea is always right," which it proves to be when she takes his place the next day and she's put in the pool with the big sea monster thing. It spits her back out because the sea is always right. They have the other movies that they rip off in this episode. Empire Strikes Back. Literally, the scene between Bombadil and not Gandalf is the scene between Luke and Yoda when Luke has a vision of his friends in trouble and rushes off to Cloud City to save them. And Yoda's like, "Don't do it. You can't go yet. He's not safe. You don't have the Force yet." It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing, except for it's Bombadil. But Bombadil isn't like, he's not a Yoda figure. He doesn't care about what the bigger picture is. He's detached from all of that. But this is how they've written his character, telling him he has to choose between his friends and his destiny. And off Not Stranger goes in his X-Wing to Cloud City. The Harfoot storyline doesn't even bear mentioning, really. Like, they have Poppy and that one Stewart guy kiss, and then she accuses him of having lizard breath. It's just the most stupid and pathetic storyline in the whole show. And it doesn't matter, because at least it's not ruining things like the Numenorian plotline. At least it's not making the elves all appear to be incompetent jackasses, right? You've got Adar now. I like Adar as a character also, but all this stuff with Galadriel's just weird. Like, she would never align herself with orcs for any reason. It just wouldn't happen. It's such a bizarre way to portray Galadriel. And then you got a scene with Arondir fighting some orcs. Literally, they just put one scene with Arondir fighting orcs in here, and then he never shows back up. Like, why even have that in the episode? I think I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but I guess my larger point here, and the thing I just wanted to focus on, is that you do see glimpses of where there could have been a good story here. There could have been. There's not, but there could have been. And all they had to do was stick a little more closely to the chronology, to the timeline, to the spirit of the show, and it could have been, or to the spirit of the source material, and the show could have been great. I did think the Bear McCreary's score picked up a little bit this episode, especially at the end with the orcs attacking Eregion. I thought there was some really nice music there. And I think Charlie Vickers is doing a great job as Sauron. I just hate his wig so much. I just hate it. It's so bad. It's just so bad. How have they not gotten fantasy wigs right? Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments, and like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate you. Thank you. Peace.